Welcome to another episode of Green Eggs and Ham. This video is being produced as Tropical Storm Alberto enters the Gulf of Mexico and makes its trek northward. Right now, as I record this introduction, it's about 120 miles to the west of Tampa, and the coastal areas are starting to see wind gusts. Hurricane season starts June 1st in Florida and all along the Atlantic. With that in mind, I'd like to use this video to show you how I track the weather, both at home and on the go. The benefits of keeping tabs on the weather at the computer are twofold. First, you can use multiple displays, therefore putting resources in any configuration on those displays. The second is larger displays. If you're like me who is blind in one eye and can't see out of the other, it's really helpful to get away from the small iPhone and Android phone screens, especially for smaller detail. So I'm going to show you 4 resources I use to keep tabs of the weather while I'm at my computer. The first is RadarScope. It's owned by Weather Decision Technologies and in fact is my go-to for any device that I'm using, whether it be my wife's Android tablet, my iOS, iPhone, iPad, or the computer. RadarScope is available on iOS, Android, Mac OS, and most recently Windows 10, albeit version 1.0 on Windows 10. This video is recorded on May 25th, 2018, and we have Alberto, the first tropical storm of the 2018 hurricane season, entering the Gulf of Mexico, and he's down by the Yucatan Peninsula. So some of this rain and some of the clouds that we're seeing are likely courtesy of that tropical disturbance. There's a couple of things that I really like about RadarScope. The first is its integration into external data sources. RadarScope accepts accounts with WeatherOps, Allison House, and SpotterNetwork.org. And as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, you have layers for those particular services. So local storm reports as well as spotter locations and MPing reports come from Allison House and or Spotter Network. You can also choose different radar products. So if I wanted to see base or super res velocity, this tells me what the precipitation is actually doing. Is it going to the radar or away from the radar? This is especially handy when you're looking for rotation and water spouts or tornadoes or things of that nature. There's other radar products that you can also select. There's precipitation depiction, which is really cool. You can actually put a precipitation depiction up on the radar and it will tell you what it thinks is happening, whether it's rain or snow or sleet. Extremely useful in the Midwest and the East where they get a lot of snow. The second resource that I use to keep tabs while I'm at the computer is an application called WeatherWall. WeatherWall was last updated in 2016 and I really hope that they keep it up. It's unfortunate, but the app still works, just not all of its functions at this point. For example, the window that I have set up in the upper left-hand corner is supposed to be showing me temperature and clouds, or from visible satellite as well as infrared satellite, depending what I choose. The lower left-hand corner is base velocity, also combined with the temperatures. And finally, the larger window is kind of like what RadarScope would show me, just using different colors. I have it integrated with my Allison House subscription, so it's showing me storm tracks, if there are any, lightning data, as well as the spotter locations. If there happen to be any watchers or warnings, I can click on those and actually bring up the actual text of that watch or warning from the National Weather Service. This application works really well as a sort of a weather console. I can throw this up on an external display and just leave it running when I'm in the office, den, or shack, or whatever you want to call this room that I'm in. The third resource is spaghettymodels.com, otherwise known as Mike's weather page. As I mentioned earlier, we've got Tropical Storm Alberto entering the Gulf of Mexico, so anything in this column is graphics related to Tropical Storm Alberto. The rest, the column to the right, is actually weather information covering the East Coast and the nation. There's also some pretty neat maps here from Weather Decision Technologies. I'm not going to go into every single map on this page, but suffice it to say that it is very easy to become overloaded with information. Mike has a Facebook and Twitter presence and has been doing Facebook Live updates of Tropical Storm Alberto, and he is extremely good at explaining what each of these maps does and what things he looks at in relation to a tropical storm. So if I click on this one from the National Hurricane Center, it gives me information such as a 5-day forecast or a full tracking forecast. I can change that to a 3-day track. I can also turn the track line off and on. And I can also turn on and off the initial wind field. So if I don't want to see where they think winds are going to hit, I can turn that on and off. Another useful map that I find is rain totals. Keep in mind that the current map we're looking at is for today through June 1st. So if I'm looking at the Tampa area, I'm looking at anywhere between 4 to 6 inches of rain. If I move a little southbound of here, it's actually 6 to 10 inches. So potentially a soggy weekend, depending on how fast Alberto moves. This is what kind of prompted my suggestion that some of the rain we're getting right now could invariably be courtesy of Tropical Storm Alberto. Florida normally gets rain in the afternoon in the summer season, so some of this could be just afternoon rain, but if you look at some of the clouds that are showing up on this satellite, you can see that they are being drawn into that low pressure system. So that was the reason for the comment about this rain could be from that. You can also get other storm tracks courtesy of the various data models that are out there. There's a lot of good information on this page. I urge you to check it out, but again, you'll really want to check out Mike's briefings on Facebook or Twitter. You can also get Geos East images as well, so pretty slick. The fourth resource that I like to use when it comes to tracking the weather from my computer is my own weather station. I do have it reporting into Weather Underground, as well as the Citizens Weather Observer program via ham radio, but there's nothing like getting the data firsthand from this page. As you can tell, it's 73.4 degrees. The temperature's been slowly climbing as I'm recording this video. You can also see today's rain from midnight is 0.3 of an inch, and I've also got the Tampa Bay radar from Ruskin on the page. So this is an invaluable resource. You can see this by going to wx.w8ufo.net. I will put that on the show notes as well as Mike's weather page. So let's review. When I'm sitting in front of the computer tracking the weather, or when I'm doing ham radio related weather spotter activities, I like to use my own weather station, Mike's weather page, Weather Wall as a weather console, and my go-to is RadarScope. When I'm out and about, not near a TV or the computer and trying to keep track of the weather, there are a bunch of weather apps that I have on my iPhone. Don't worry, I'm not going to cover all 13 of these apps. I'm just going to cover a couple or a few, and then give you a couple of features that I like from each. This is not intended to be a full application review, but if you want me to do that, let me know which application you'd like to see more of in the comments, and I'll try to include it in a future video. We're going to start off with Bloom Sky. They are a network of weather sensors that provide not only weather data but also visual indicators of the weather in the form of photos. So when conditions change, the device uploads a new photo. You can see here it's 76 degrees in the Bloom Sky that's in my backyard, pointed west, so we can see the weather coming in off the Gulf Coast of Florida. I also have one pointed east that's currently not online due to a problem with either the network or the Bloom Sky service. We're not sure which. We're working through that. I'm a Green Bay Packer fan, so here's Lambeau Field. It's actually warmer in Wisconsin, 88 degrees. Next up is the FEMA app. It's not really a weather app per se, but you can set it up to alert 5 different locations. I have 3 of the 5 set up, 2 that I'm monitoring for professional reasons outside of the video. We've had some severe rain come through Florida, so here's a flood watch issued by the National Weather Service in Ruskin. These alerts can come from the Weather Service or any other federal agency, and when you tap on an alert, you're going to get the text that the agency actually submitted in that alert. Hurricane Tracker is a new one to the arsenal. It replaces Hurricane HD and Hurricane. Kitty Code, the company that makes those apps, decided not to support them after April 30th. So they're out of the mix for this hurricane season. But this application is actually pretty good. I'm not a big fan of the interface, but when you set it up for one of the 8 or 10 different regions that have tropical weather. And when you tap on a named storm, you get all kinds of maps and advisories and discussions. It even has push alerts. So when an update is issued for a storm, for instance, the 5 p.m. update, I got a push alert for this. And here's the information that they provided as a result of that alert, including the actual text from the National Hurricane Center or the National Weather Service. My go-to app, even on iOS, is RadarScope. It is integrated with my Allison House and SpotterNetwork.org accounts. If you have a Weather Ops account, you can also sign in with that. Basically, anything you can do on the computer with RadarScope, you can do here. You can see the weather moving through here in Florida. If I tap on a cell, it's going to give me the potential hail size, the speed, and if I hit the info button there, it'll give me a little bit more information. So 60% chance of hail with that, up to a ½ inch. So that's kind of neat. Same thing with a weather spotter. I can tap on a weather spotter. Here's Greg, NA2N. He's a ham radio operator. If I tap on him, I'll get an email address. Sometimes I think they'll even put the frequency that they're listening to in here. Next up is Weather Underground. If I am out and about and want to get information about the weather near me, not some airport that's 20 miles away, I will use this app. They've been purchased by the Weather Channel, so it's been a bit flaky, but it's still worth a look. Finally, the last app that I like to look at is Windy. It's actually known as WindT in the App Store. You want to look for that W when you're looking for it. I'll show you the icon again just so you make sure you get the right one. You can get information for anywhere in the US by dropping a pin. So if I wanted to know what the weather was like in my area, I can actually get map layers, say find my location. Try that again. Map layers, find my location. And there we go. Now it's working. Southeast at 5 miles an hour. If I tap the down arrow, I'm going to get information, forecast information actually. The temperature, rain or snow accumulation, the wind and wind gusts, the expected wind and wind gusts. You can set this to knots if you're a boater or a fisherman or an angler. And you can also add favorite locations. It's saying I'm in Brandon, but apparently it doesn't like Riverview. So that's it. Those are the apps that I continuously like to use to keep tabs of the weather when I'm out and about. The application landscape is changing constantly. While I was preparing for this video, I found that some apps didn't work as I expected them to, and still others were undergoing changes. Three examples actually, are Hurricane HD, Hurricane, and Weather Underground Storm. After 10 years on the market, Hurricane HD and Hurricane by Kitty Code Software has ceased support and publication. It's unfortunate because they were great apps, but all things must come to an end. Kitty Code, thanks for all that you've done for the community. Weather Underground Storm was discontinued by the Weather Channel on May 24th. They've since forced all of those users to move to Storm Radar. Suffice it to say, check your apps often. Don't wait until hurricane season. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to be notified when new videos are posted, click on the subscribe button. Next on Green Eggs and Ham, we're going to do an unboxing and a test fit of the adjustable rig from the Ceramic Grill Store. Stick with us. Until next time, be safe and be well.